Good evening, everyone. Welcome to America's Third Party. I am David Spahn. I'm part two is starting now. Previously, we were DDoSed during that episode where Donald Trump was sniffling, and we are posting the videos anyways, so I didn't violate any laws, just showing clips of the debates between him and Hillary in 2016. I wonder if Hillary's going to enter the race again. You got to wonder, is she grooming herself for this with her recent appearance on Comedy Central, Trevor Noah's show, where he asked her jokingly, so did you kill Epstein? And the whole thing turned into like a trivialization of something so serious as the Clinton legacy of missing dead people. I mean, I can't believe Trevor would make light of that, not even probe her on questions like the Clinton body count when he has her right in front of him. But there is the shill, that the token black person that they chose for that show to replace Jon Stewart. That's what he does. I haven't laughed at one thing he's ever said. I don't find him funny at all. Okay, we've got a couple people dealing with some banking problems with Steve-O. He's paid 2/3 of his house off and they're trying to take his house from him, and he's never missed a payment. Amazing. Then they ordered you to do a balloon payment at the end, 58 days to pay $50,000, or they're taking over your house for peanuts. This is a typical scam that goes on in a lot of the APR financing mortgage problems in our country. I know you're in Canada, but people have been known to have to require balloon payments at the end of their note cycle. It's crazy. And people signed on to this and they didn't even know. See if your original paperwork even exists. There's an organization called Produce the Note. And if your mortgage company can't produce the mortgage payment, I mean, maybe they're just contacting all the people under their note because they're going under or something. But they have to produce the note. If they don't produce the note, you own that house. There's a Produce the Note movement that took off about 8 years ago in some states where people just called the bank up and said, hey, you're claiming I owe you this. Show me the paperwork. No, we're not offended. No, we're just trying to deal with a person who keeps coming in here and accusing me of eating 5,000 calories a day, and I don't. So you could refinance with a different company. That's one option, yeah. You have like a very short period of time to make that decision. Yeah, refinance, that's what Cranky Bean says. That's your best way out of this situation. Yeah, maybe you could do that. I don't know. Willie Pickles. Well, Willie is a guy who's coming into our show under different names, and he keeps pretending like it's no big deal to accuse me of overeating when I don't overeat. Yeah, I'm very, very touchy about that. Welcome, everybody. We are going to talk about the Epstein case that was brought to our attention. As you know, Jeffrey Epstein has been seen on the St. James Island. Here's a picture of him taken just 10 days after he was allegedly killed. And now people are questioning whether he was suicided, whether he suicided or whether he was killed. Even the coroner who signed off on the original autopsies is now having his misgivings. Michael Baden, who happens to be the same coroner that okayed everything from JFK Jr. to all these other cases, that it's like he's the go-to coroner. So you've got to wonder if he's not on the take. Anyone looking at a photograph of Jeffrey Epstein's face would know that he didn't die. Looking at this photograph, you could clearly see his nose is straight, whereas the dead person's nose is curved. His ear is completely different than the dead person, and the dead person had higher cheekbones and a bruise along the left side of his face. So it does look like the person that did die, whoever that person is, suffered some severe trauma. And how a coroner could even sign off initially on this being a suicide shows you either Michael Baden's incompetence or worse, he was paid off to have a false reading. All right, so that's out there. This is a story that doesn't go away. Here's the actual footage. I'll give you a link to the YouTube so you can check it out yourself. Go to 239 to get the money shot. 239 has the money shot of him looking up at the camera. Yeah, so I'm going to open it up here for a second. I can't get a better picture on my resolution here, which isn't that great. But if somebody has really high-end equipment, they could close in on this face because he tips his head right up. And in this picture right here at 238, he's actually looking right at the camera. Let me zoom in on this here for a second. Hang on. I can't get you the resolution you need, I know, but see his head's tipping up there? It's in the shadows. See, it goes right up in the shadows there. So he sees the drone above him. And Rusty Shackelford is the original poster of this video. He's looking up at the drone. The money shot, yeah. I'm not promoting anything like that, but see his head tips right up like that? So if somebody has really good camera and could work with a really high-end monitor, you might be able to get something off of that. I don't have that equipment, so. They can claim anyone is not fit to live with anyone whose house they want to. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of housing ripoff things that are affecting Stibu. Our country and Canada are both in the clutches of these mortgageers. And remember Countrywide under George W. Bush? They eventually were bought out by Bank of America, which has a spotty record as well. Those kind of loans that were handed out in Countrywide's day, and they were giving out subprime mortgage loans that were defaulting. A lot of people lost their houses because the loans should never have been given to them because they couldn't make their payments. The loans were just offered so the company, Countrywide, could make down payments from people. And then they immediately foreclosed on them. And a lot of the times, Countrywide didn't have any trace of those homes, so they couldn't even produce the note. Well, Bank of America and other banks as well, Wells Fargo, look at that. That bank had 6,000 employees marked with a Class C felony of offering people accounts that didn't exist and then funneling money from their checking accounts into those accounts. 6,000 people at Wells Fargo were literally fired, and then just last year they were rehired, all 6,000. Even though they were supposedly charged with Class C felonies, nobody was charged with anything. So there's all kinds of corruption going on in the mortgage industry. Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae were a big part of the mortgage debacle, and they're still holding the notes of over $12 trillion. And yeah, I'd love to. We have a physical match on Joe Biden. Look at that. We believe he may have been the creepy banjo boy, all grown up. Yeah. I don't know. And Joe's, he's going to make a comeback. He says he doesn't care about Iowa. He can win without Iowa, and he's absolutely right. A new poll just found out that Joe is the most likely person to beat Donald Trump in a head-to-head race. Over Warren, yeah. But he's got a lot of things dogging him, like kissing moments with people like this one. That moment when you find a girl that looks at you, and the way Joe Biden's granddaughter looks at him, and you just give her a kiss, you know? I know. And he was caught kissing another woman on the campaign trail 2 days ago, or at least a boy and a girl. Something's going on with, he made a statement saying he wasn't going to do this anymore, and he's out doing it. And people are wondering, wait a second, this guy is like a serial offender in this category. And it's freaky. Yeah, let me give you a picture of it right here. Here he is, signing autographs, kissing a boy's head, rubbing him, and then he turns to the little girl and he goes like this. And, he smells her and holds his nose up against her. And am I assuming it's a she? He's a she? I don't know. But I mean, this is just, when does it end, Joe? I mean, your days as a creepy banjo boy must have been like stuck in your head or something. I just never realized that he was that guy until I saw an absolute physical match to the banjo boy. I know. Good job, by the way, playing banjo. Can we afford to have a president or vice president like Biden maneuver around like Trump is doing with Ukraine? And we know Hunter Biden has obviously been involved with some pretty shady deals with Burisma. And Trump's absolutely right in going after that and exposing that. But it may not be enough to cover up his own mess at home with Ukraine, because Trump seems to have done the same thing that Biden did, or allegedly did, because Biden insists he didn't do that. There's a lot of nuances to the story, but either way, it's leading to impeachment for Donald Trump, and it's a foregone conclusion that Donald Trump will be impeached in the House now. And you Republicans, you're standing firm on your side, but there are a lot of people who are beginning to wonder if Donald really isn't working for Russia, in that he does everything for Russia. He hates NATO, the number one enemy of Russia. Donald didn't impose any taxes or tariffs, rather, on oligarchs for a full year and a half. It's almost like that deal with the Russian attorney that Donald Jr. met her to talk about no tariffs. It's almost like that went through. It was only until I kept harping on it every night that Donald Trump finally imposed a tariff on some people in Russia. But that was like a full year and a half. And then, of course, Donald Trump is doing everything he can to destabilize relations with China, which hurts our economy, which helps Russia. Because if China's economy and our economy falter, Russia looks better, because remember, Russia has one of the smallest world economies out there for a superpower. Their economy is no bigger than Spain's or Italy's or Texas. Texas has a larger economy than Russia. So Russia's using very underhanded techniques to manipulate, and the power of their military and their intelligence department is so strong they're able to do this and mess with world politics. And that's what's been happening. And people like Donald Trump are very vulnerable because he owes a lot of money. Trump does. He owes a lot of money, $2.4 billion he shares debt with. Every month he's got to come up with a $30 million debt interest just for his debt alone. So when he decided to leave the Kurdish people, I actually, of course, have been talking about getting out of Syria, but not abandoning the Kurds or leaving them with no defenses. I had a plan to provide a safe zone, but a real safe zone, not the kind that Donald Trump stole my idea to talk about. We know. The stream is available on many other networks, guys. If you're having problems getting the stream, you can get it. Always go to @ThirdParty, and you'll see our Periscope link there, I assume. Because I don't know, I could be shadow banned too and not even see my own posts on Twitter. But if you're having problems getting our stream, we have an alternate stream on Periscope. And Psych Juice just said, Twitch keeps hiding your stream from my follower list. Look at that. Psych Juice liked our show the other night and said, hey, yeah, you're kind of refreshing. I got your chat there, Psych Juice. And now it says Twitch keeps hiding your stream from my follower list. So let me give you a roundtable update on what's happening. For all of you watching the show, even in repeat and seeing this recorded, I've been battling censorship in such a huge way for the past 11 years. It's almost mind-boggling. But we have 4 venues running right now on our screen. I'm broadcasting to 4 separate locations. I'll show you my broadcast venue here. I'm streaming live to 4 separate locations, and all 4 of those locations, thanks, I'm glad the stream's good, but all 4 of those locations have either DDoSed me or kept me out of their lineup. Now, I'm the #1 show at Vaughn for the past 10 years, and now they won't even show me in their lineup on People. Oftentimes I'm kicked out of the lineup, and it's every single network we have is now limiting the number of people that can come in. And just about 6 months ago, they all shut down guest chat too. So that's how censorship is going on right now. We're working on the back side, trying to find out ways in which we can develop a server of our own and broadcast directly from our own server with a good, strong IRC chat room that anybody could get into, anywhere in the world. And that's our perhaps next biggest challenge, because every one of the networks that we've been on has been bought off or paid off. I never censor people who tell the truth. Never. I've never hid anything from anyone. Now you're a new person here. You could be just an example number one of some fake chatter who comes in and tries to attack our show. So I'm going to ban you for that. And Vika, you have only one option. You're going to be banned again after our unban all. You literally are going to ruin your chances of ever coming back here, because I'm not going to unban all the time. I do it every 6 months now. So you have your option. If you want to keep posting links, I will ban you. DDoS means spiking your modem or router, resetting it. And we've been DDoSed not only on our level, but at the server level too. Mark's stream has been affected many times. We just got knocked out ourselves with a distributed denial of service. And then I had to start part 2. When I was playing the sniffling video of Donald Trump, it was just about 5 seconds, no more than 5 seconds. It was a compilation of the 136 times Donald Trump snorted during the debate with Hillary Clinton. One debate. I virtually got knocked out as soon as that came on. They've got about a 5-second lead time, and they knock people off, and I was shut down at that point. Yeah. We've been buffering for weeks, but now we're coming in clean, yeah. Well, the other problem with iVlog is iVlog's been limiting our position as well in the list. I mean, people actually broadcasting. So we've got all kinds of issues going on there too. And iVlog got rid of guest chat 6 months ago. Vaughn got rid of guest chat 2 years ago. Maybe 3 years ago now. Anyway, I would have left a contingency along this border with Turkey that would have provided a guarantee that the people would be at least safe from attack, but Trump just literally pulled troops out and said, you're on your own. And then he used my wording, a safe zone, and I'm the guy who created the word safe zone. In 2009, I talked about it on my show. You can go back to my shows and hear me talking about it on YouTube. I preceded everybody in the military or across the globe using this concept I developed called a weapons-free safe zone. I was never planning on leaving them defenseless. I was going to provide high-end anti-ballistic capabilities for the Kurds. I would never have left them defenseless. But Trump just completely abandoned the region, and now for some reason he's hanging out around the oil wells. And he's openly admitting how we need oil. Well, I don't blame him for hanging around the oil wells. We had a lot of commitment in that area. There was a huge conflict with a Russian mercenary group called the Warner Group about 1.5 years or 2 years ago in the area of these oil fields. And our military was effective in stopping this Warner Group, and there were nearly 300 people dead trying to get to those oil fields to give them over to Bashar al-Assad. The problem is, no one knows what it's like. No one knows who's actually getting the money from the oil fields. There's no information on the internet. I don't know who runs those oil fields. Is Donald making money on the oil fields? I don't know. But the question really is, should we remain there? And I think in the case of protecting oil fields that obviously were a big part of our position there, that makes sense for now, but we need a long-term plan. Now, I'm about ready to play you a clip of a man who openly admitted to having oral sex with Barack Obama. Now, if you've got children in the room, you may want to actually, have them leave the monitor, because we're not a youthful organization offering an audience of kids something as disturbing as this. We actually expect you or your family to be over 18. So I'm going to play this person's testimony. His name was Larry Sinclair, and he openly tried to talk about his experience with Barack Obama. Barack Obama never, ever prosecuted him for defamation of character. Never. So you have to assume this is true. And by the way, Larry did pass a lie detector test with 99% certainty.
Where Senator Obama exited the limousine with $250, which was provided to him by me. Returned a short while later with an 8-ball of cocaine, which he gave to me. I did ingest a couple of lines of cocaine, and shortly thereafter, Senator Obama produced a glass cylinder pipe and packet of crack cocaine from his pocket. Obama then smoked the crack cocaine. I performed fellatio on Senator Obama in the limousine during the time Senator Obama was smoking crack cocaine, after which I had the driver take me to my hotel, the Comfort Suites, Gurnee, Illinois.
Damning information. Now, many of you Democrats still think that Barack Obama did no wrong. And that's a problem. So, yeah. Nobody's willing to accept the fact that Barack Obama is gay. No one's willing to look at his drug history. No one was willing to listen to Larry Sinclair over 8 years. He was shunned by the media. That video was taken in 2000 and I believe 9. He started coming out about his relationship with Barack Obama, and no one ever talked to him. I think it may have done. He may even talked about it in 2008 in anticipation of the election, but nobody ever gave him any time in the mainstream media. Jay Mix, are you a victim of some sort of an activity when you were a kid? Are you here to talk about that? We're discussing Pizzagate, Pedogate tonight. Anything that comes to mind. It's a Conspiracy Monday show, so all I can tell you is it looks to me like Barack Obama was a crack user and a person who's a homosexual. And I'm not spiting people for being gay. Believe me, I don't care. That was not the issue. And I don't care if Michelle is a transgender either. It bothers me that they committed fraud. Just like it bothers me that Elizabeth Warren lied about being a Cherokee Indian and got all that money to go to college and then get her degree and then teach as a minority professor, and now she has $12 million. That's not fair. So I think a lot of this truth gathering that we do in the show is important for people to understand the need for a third party. I wouldn't bring this stuff up if it wasn't so obvious that we've been lied to. And let's not forget, I'm the only guy out there who has an open opportunity for a legalization across the nation of marijuana. A lot of old people are benefiting from smoking a little bit of marijuana. Young people over the age of 21 or older, because I would wait till your lungs are developed before you smoke at all. But I tried smoking marijuana at 21, and I enjoyed it enough to want to try it again in my life. And I can tell you, it wasn't devastating. It was pretty nice. In fact, if you haven't smoked, don't do it because you'll like it too much. I highly urge you to not smoke if you've never smoked. No, that's irrelevant and also a mutable offense. You can't talk about me in that way here. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Canada's already gone legal weed coast to coast, but if you get caught driving in Canada higher than a kite, you're going to jail for 10 years. They've got a very stiff law against people driving under the influence of THC. Yeah, it's not exactly as sweet of a deal as you think with Trudeau legalizing it coast to coast, but it was a good move for him to do that. Well, look into the law. It may have changed, but when it first introduced, if you're caught with THC in your bloodstream, you can get up to 10 years in jail. Here you lose your license in Washington. And technically, in Washington, they don't even prosecute people who drive without a license. So theoretically, it doesn't even matter. In theory. Because in Washington, we truly recognize the law as it's written, the national law, enabling all of us the right to transport. We all have the right to transportation and the use of transportation. Many states don't see it that way. In Washington, they're very liberal and they see it that way. So people with DUIs get to repeat DUI offend in our state. And there's nothing that the government can do about it. I'm not encouraging that. I believe that the THC levels at all drivers situations, the THC levels have been arbitrarily set very low. Well, in our state of Washington, if you drive and they take your driver's license away, all you have to do is go get a driver's identification card. And when they pull you over, they can't technically stop you from driving. It's ironic, but our THC level is set for 5 micrograms per milliliter, which is, if you smoke a joint and 2 days later, it might still be at 5 micrograms in your system if you got really, really high. So you shouldn't really drive for 2 days after smoking a joint, really, if you smoke and want to be completely compliant. But a lot of people I've met who've lost their driver's license, I've met people that worked at recreational marijuana stores and they just drove and they ended up getting high too much and they lost their license. They still drive with the driver's identification card. It's actually it's just called an identification card is all it is. Hey, so yeah, if you're gay, you can come on in. Absolutely. We are heterosexual here. I'm a heterosexual, so if you're gay, you can come in and chat. And I'm just not favoring LGBTQ laws like the Democrats. Again, that's an inappropriate statement in the show, and you're going to have to trim your logic to talk about politics only. So there are no national laws for driving under influence in Canada. Each province sets the rules. Really? Okay, well, I guess they changed the laws in Canada. Thanks for clarifying that, because I was told that they had a 10-year prison sentence for THC in your bloodstream. Oh, well, good for you. I'm glad each province is separate. So you really don't know what's going to happen. Whatever province you're in, you have no idea. Nice. See, that's what something Trudeau should do to correct that. Maybe he should do his national speech in front of the Canadian people in blackface. That might be an interesting, alternative to the standard of him talking like he's a puppet for the New World Order. Is it worth having a smart meter to save $10 a week on energy bills? No. Smart meters are dangerous, but we're all forced to have them. So what some people are doing with smart meters is putting Faraday cages over them. You can buy a Faraday cage on eBay. You can make one too. But they're pretty effective at closing down that field energy that's coming off your smart meter. Let's see if there's one. Oh yeah, here it is. It's called the Smart Meter Shield Kit. Kind of pricey. I mean, you can literally make one of these things with aluminum wire or aluminum screening material, like I did. This guy wants $50, but it works great. He shows how the meter reading is so low you can barely detect it. Yeah, so it's basically a cover over the outside of your smart meter. That's what it is. Yeah, if you want the link, I'll give it to you right now. You can just check it out. But you can make one of these things yourself. I did. And by the way, folks, smart meter energy is dangerous. And our government's done nothing to test this stuff really so it's safe for the American people. Remember, our government's been running under a rogue plan for years, controlled by outside sources who have huge amounts of money. And that's one of the reasons why this third party is even forming, because we know that we're never going to get honesty from the two-party system, ever. They're never going to be held accountable either. Because they're so controlled and they're connected to the media, they're never going to actually answer to the American people. The two-party system is completely dialed in and controlled by rich people. They control both sides of the political spectrum.
What says happened to him inside this house sounds like something out of a movie. Tonight, he tells me he owes his life to his wife.
I've got a fractured eye socket, a fractured sinus cavity, a concussion, 20 stitches and 3 staples in my head. I took a severe beating.
The bruises and swelling on Jeremy King's face tell the story of a man on the receiving end of a brutal attack. But his actual account is far more harrowing than his injuries suggest.
They came in heavily hooded, masked. As soon as they ripped my back door open, they already had a pistol on me and was grabbing my 11-year-old daughter.
King is talking about the men who barged into his home on Old Welcome Road in Lithia around 9 o'clock Wednesday night. He says he doesn't know who they are, never met them, and has no idea why he was targeted. Both men pointed guns at him while demanding money.
And when I'm telling them I have nothing for you, they got this backpack and gun in my face saying, give me everything you got. And I'm saying, I have nothing for you, I have nothing for you. It became real violent, real fast.
King says one of the men started pistol whipping him while another kicked him repeatedly in the head. King's wife, who was 8 months pregnant, was in the back bedroom and peeked out to see what was going on. That's when King says one of the masked men shot at her. She retreated, grabbed an AR-15, and returned fire.
When he came towards the back door in her line of sight, she clipped him. He made it from my back door roughly 200 feet out in the front ditch before the AR did its thing.
Deputies who responded to this scene found a man dead in a nearby ditch. The other man ran off after the shot was fired.
Them guys came in with 2 normal pistols. My AR stopped it. pretty much she evened the playing field and kept them from killing him.
Authorities are still looking for the second suspect. Meanwhile, King tells me he's waiting to see if there will be any lasting damage to his eye.
These are alternative news clips on 153news.net. Thanks, Scissorfight. Very good. Again, home invasions are on the uptick in Florida. And that didn't look like the guy had any money at all. I mean, it's like he was living kind of down in the double-wide mobile home. And then they're still robbing him. And the AR did its thing. Yeah, his wife saved his life and ended up taking out one of those criminals. But you see why Americans have guns? To defend themselves. In many countries across the country, like in Australia, when they implemented gun control, home invasions rose 60% the next year. This is back in the 1980s. So they've had a constant problem with criminals who want to take away your guns so that you don't have a right to defend yourself. Thank goodness Beto O'Rourke has finally left the race for president when he was running around talking about taking away your weapons. And I was telling people at the time, I was really coming in hard against Beto, that, you know, the guy is a criminal. He's caught for burglary and a DUI, and he basically, he wanted to take away your guns. Criminals want you to be disarmed when you try to defend yourself. Makes sense, doesn't it? So I believe that you have the right to bear arms in America. I will stand behind the Second Amendment all the way. And I truly believe it's one of the last guarantees of our freedom, really. Even against alien invasion. Say our country was taken over by an attack from outside forces, and the last stand was your defenses in your home. Why wouldn't we want you to be armed if you chose to be armed? So don't think for a second I'll ever take away weapons or even talk about gun control. That's off the table. We got way more to deal with, just creating jobs and finding a pathway where we can both sides agree on a lot of issues. The problem we have right now is the Democrats are leaning more to the left and the Republicans are leaning more to the right. And that's not how the American people are. They're centrists. More and more people want to see something in the middle. And taking gun rights away is not something I would ever do. Only the Democrats would do that. And even Donald is talking about implementing a red flag law. But I have a feeling you Republicans are not going to have a candidate in about a 6 to 8 month period. I'm fairly sure that Donald Trump is going to resign and leave Pence as our president. I'm pretty sure. I normally don't make these assessments, but I've been right all along. All the past 6 or 7 years I've been talking about Trump, ever since he started coming into our show and stealing my ideas. So I'm pretty sure that he's going to have to resign. More and more evidence is pointing against him in every department. Well, you may believe that he's going to go for 2020, and you may still be saying, "Oh yeah, Dave, you're wrong. He's running again. He's going to have a second term, and he'll even go for 3 terms." Whatever. I'm just telling you, be prepared to build this third party with me if you're coming from Trump's side, because Trump has taken over 15 of my ideas, and they're good ideas, like the 1,000-mile fence, protecting our borders, dealing with the illegal alien problem in a much more sensible way than Trump's doing. We have a plan that would create this container fence, which only costs $1 billion to construct, and we could provide venues for people to live in down below. And it's a phenomenal solution, whereas Trump doesn't have these great ideas. In fact, my original idea, when the 1,000-mile fence was stolen, and he called it a 1,000-mile wall, I was the one that measured the distance we needed to go. Michelle Bachmann in 2012 took the idea from our site. But the fact is, we need to cover 1,000 miles that are vulnerable right now. And Trump hasn't made many miles. He hasn't really built 600 miles. He's shored up 600 miles. That much I can say is of a slight benefit. But we're seeing people go to Home Depots and spend $60 on a saw and be able to cut through the fence that he's put up. That's not an appropriate thing to put in the show. That's a bannable offense, Rum Bubba. Sorry. Yeah, you can't talk about things that are not politics related, or I'll ban you at this point. You in particular, okay? Because you keep coming in under different names. I would rather look at blank space than what you're writing. Psych Juice says, laughing, "I remember watching the sniffling stuff, then wondering why the stream cut off. Yeah. We are hit hard, big time, whenever we take on difficult subjects. And that's one of them. Let's see if this will last. Now, al-Baghdadi, you probably know, has died 6 times already. This is the 6th time al-Baghdadi's been dead. No, he wasn't talking politics. Veronica, you're gone too. We don't need you in the show. Only people that want to talk politics can come into the show. And if you can't find us, go to our Twitter account and type in @thirdparty, and you'll find our Periscope link. And if you don't have the Periscope link, you probably won't be able to chat at all. And we got people at Periscope that are completely censored. Like right now, I have 100 viewers in Periscope, but it tells me I have none. And when I go back to the show after the show, that shows me I have 100 viewers. There are other anomalies going on too. Twitch shows my show views at close to 500 over the past 2 weeks. Yet I've only seen 2 or 3 people in the show at any given time on Twitch. I'm serious. Right now I have 2 people in the show, but when I look back, I've had over 500 views in 2 weeks on this show. But Twitch is just showing me 2 people. But my number when I started just 2 weeks ago was 9,700. Well, I will say it's close to 350 people have come in the show. Not 500, 350 people, to be fair. But it doesn't tell me that. Ivan the Terrible says, David, Twitter censors me on there. I can't post anything on there. I believe you. We had a person, McDundee, sent me a clip, a Twitter message, never came through, but it told him, and he sent me a picture of what it told him. Message sent, no problem. Yeah. So there's a lot of shadow banning going on behind the scenes, folks. So if you're one of those people that's hanging in there and trying to fight censorship like we are.
This is Jim Fetzer, the editor of the...
We got Jim Fetzer, the editor. He's going to talk about the Sandy Hook case in just a second.
book, Nobody Died at Sandy Hook. Did you know that we proved there that the photographs sent worldwide by Newtown Bee photographer Shannon Hicks, supposed to show a policewoman escorting the children to safety, was staged? That she took a second photograph a few minutes earlier in which you can see parents looking on casually with their arms folded, hands in their pockets, showing no anxiety or concern whatsoever. Shannon herself has acknowledged having taken both of these photographs.
Wow.
She claims they're authentic, but look what they did. They rearranged the line so that instead of having a little girl in a pink sweater and a short skirt, they replaced her with a little boy in a long sweater and blue jeans. And if you even look between boy number 1 and boy number 2 in the background, there are other parents casually looking on, leading me to describe this photograph as lounging at the massacre. Now here's the area where that photograph is was actually taken in the parking lot. But had it been real, there were 460 students to evacuate. It should have been taking place all over the parking lot. And although the Newtown police claim that specific locations and times the evacuation was taking place, when we checked dash cam footage, there's nothing there because nothing was happening. None of the money raised will be used to offset the absurd $450,000 verdict, but only to support the appeal that will set that award aside in the trial. I have been denied to correct the record, expose Sandy Hook, and to the extent possible under these circumstances, restore respect for the First Amendment, freedom of speech, and freedom of the press. Please join me in my fight to restore the First Amendment.
Okay, Jim Fetzer, like many people who completely question the authenticity of the facts regarding that event, have been facing this terrible problem of discussing the issue without ever making any claims. Yeah. So he did make a very accurate claim, though, that the photographs that were redacted and sent to the the state of Connecticut sent and released in the 2011 report, those videotapes of those angles did not show 460 kids leaving the campus. That's a fact. And he also stuck to the facts there with a duplicate photograph showing placing of the children for a canned photograph. So just citing facts is all you can do now without breaching any laws regarding questioning whether the event was 100% authentic or not. And apparently men like him are actually doing their due justice here without having to face trial. Like, I guess one person has faced trial over one of the false flag events, and there's another person who's been arrested over approaching people down in Florida about another event. There's been a couple of arrests across the country, but it's strange. The government doesn't want to talk about this issue. They don't want to discuss questions about the authenticity of evidence. I did not receive a warm initial welcome on Twitch. We had over 7,500 views on Twitch when I first started broadcasting 5 years ago, within a 3 or 4 week period. I had over 7,500 views. And during that time period, way back when we did get our views, there was a real strong hesitation for people to talk about transgenderism. And anybody who made questions or statements about that was immediately accused of being homophobic. And they accused me of being homophobic. And it turns out that the TOS rules at Twitch during that time period included homophobia, which is absurd. There's no such thing as a term of service related to homophobia. Yet they had been doing that. 5 years later, they changed their TOS requirements and they allowed us back on the show. So we've literally stayed off at a crucial time when we needed to build viewership. We had to stay off of Twitch. I don't really care what you guys want to do in the privacy of your own home, guys and girls. I don't care. I just want you to know that I'm not pro-LGBTQ. And that being the case, I care about the environment. I care about homelessness, more so than the Democrats. But I'm not pro-LGBTQ. So I'm not leaning in the communist direction either, like so many Democrats are. And I would think a lot of people in America are more like me. We are not here to discriminate against homosexuals at all. I've never made anyone feel that uncomfortable that they'd want to leave the show, but over at Twitch, they were that angry that they just accused me of being that way, and I got kicked off for 5 years.
But now you're back.
But we're back. So it does look like Baghdadi was in a picture with John McCain. And you've got to wonder why. Why was John McCain so close to somebody who's such a bad guy, and now Trump is they're saying he got rid of him, and the dog was instrumental in capturing and killing him. But I don't know. These are questions many of us are having about why John McCain would be involved with the formation of ISIS. Very weird. And that raises a question I'll be answering a little bit later. Sarah's going to give you a little tutorial here, and she's going to continue with the recorded broadcast to show you how she's working on developing her skills. And very slowly, we're not in any hurry, but we are facing some big problems coming up in December of 2020. Flash will no longer work, so iVlog will no longer work. And I'm not talking about this coming up December. I'm talking about the following December. So we'll have iVlog for about a year. So we have about a year to develop our own server and our own video stream. But we are also aware that the need for chat, open chat, is extremely important, in that we're seeing so many people kept out of our show because of the restrictions all these chat rooms have. So we're working on that too. Or Sarah is, I should say. All right, I'm going to give you the show. Thank you.
Flash will still work, it just will not be updated anymore. Meaning everyone using it will be at least vulnerable to hacking. Please don't ban me. Okay, whatever. Alright, so I've got a virtual box up. Let me put it on kind of here. No, that's me. I don't know. I'll just add another source. Oh, what was that? I don't want that. I'm going to add another source. Video. So I have my other computer going here. I have Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager going. I found a cool no streaky bacon. I know I'm working on that, cranky beans. Let me just start by programming an actual something. We'll see. I also have no, David does that. Just remove. Add. Oh, great. Just one moment. Screen capture, monitor selection, desktop 2. So I have found a cool how-to guide, howtoforge.com. It's a pretty interesting tutorial. Install Arch Linux on VirtualBox, partition the hard disk. Can you learn how to RTMP over my network to XSplit? This just isn't working. I can look it up. Because it's okay. Well, sure, we can go backwards. Yeah, someone was telling me I need to do that, but for today's alternatives to RTMP for getting your streams to the internet, UDP is a great protocol for streaming over pristine networks. RTMP was originally developed by Macromedia, now Adobe, for real-time streaming of video, audio, and data between a server and Flash player. Although Adobe announced that it will no longer support Flash, RTMP remains a commonly used protocol for live streaming within production workflows. In this post, we'll explore some of the challenges that RTMP presents for contribution streaming in the first mile, getting your stream from the live event to the cloud, for distribution via CDN, and a few alternative protocols worth considering. Was that what I was going to work on? I thought it was... Who in here was telling me what to do? You think OBS is light years ahead of XSplit, but the problem I found with OBS, well, that was a few years ago, was their green screen was just horrendous. So there's HLS and MPEG dash. HLS is HTTP live streaming. Or secure, reliable transport, the open source protocol. David was complaining about every method we thought of, but seemed open to me using RTMP and then adding that as a source on his computer so we can see it. But what about just intra-network? Oh yes, because then he thinks if it's intra-network, then it would be somehow that people would be able to go in through one network, one computer, and then get into the other computer. I already have. So I need to open up XSplit on the computer where I'm doing the VirtualBox. And then pick that up on David's computer. Yeah, how do I do that? Should I do that? Can you do that with OBS or XSplit? Oh wait, of course I know how to do this. I mean, I know a workaround, but that's not really what I really want to do. Oh crap. I don't know if I want to do that. Well, I could easily like feed it into a different site and then pull up that site on, like I could feed it into Twitch or something like that. But that's not really what I'm trying to do. Let me see. If I go to sources, add source, screen capture, game capture, devices, text, web page, media file, scene, streams, flash stream, IP camera, and NewTek NDI stream. Wonder what a NewTek NDI stream is. Network device interface live video over IP technology. NDI Tools is a free suite of applications. It allows multiple video systems to identify and communicate with one another over IP to encode, transmit, and receive many streams of high quality, low latency, frame accurate video and audio in real time. Okay. Not like a German tourist. Fast, easy video. The site uses cookies to help you understand your interests of quiet. Okay. It's a free suite of applications designed to introduce you to the world of IP and take your productions and workflow to places you may never have thought possible. With a single download, you gain the ability to integrate more devices and applications into your workflow, insert more content into your shows, and expand video opportunities throughout your network. NDI Studio Monitor. View or display any number of NDI video sources across your network. Incredibly powerful and versatile. It runs on any compatible laptop or workstation. Allows you to see any available NDI channel in real time. Arrange multiple NDI channels for live monitoring. Deploy instances for a range of professional signage and display applications. Okay, I think this is what I want. Okay, I'm going to go over here and get this NDI.tv. Isn't there like a way to mirror one computer to the other through Chrome? I would think there is through like the network. I agree with you. How dare you? We do need we need a third party. Yeah, I agree with Ivan. Ben Carson does nothing to really help the homeless. Okay. Why does it? I don't like Yahoo. I need to change that thing. Okay. Okay, figuring out which one I need. This looks really good. NDI tools. More devices, more content, more possibilities. Download. I'm going to download all the tools. For Windows, Studio Monitor, Scan Converter, Virtual Input. This is what I need. Find sources and diagnose. I don't need that analysis yet. Minimum system requirements. Okay. All right, gonna download that. The browser extension I'm using is preventing the form from displaying. Please disable. And try again. Alright, got it. NDI tools for Windows. Is anybody home here? Hello, Bob. Yes, I am home. Other people are here auditing, but I'm here just trying to do some things. trying to figure out what I'm doing. I have other ideas of what to do, but anyway. I'm going to minimize this for a second. Maybe. So I just download it. Securely access your computer, phone, or another computer. It's fast and free. And it's not just, there's this. I'm trying to figure out how to put this screen on here without this camera because it's just too difficult for people to actually see what I'm doing.
Right.
So there's two possibilities. One is a thing called NDI tools, which NDI, so I looked over here and there's a thing for adding sources. You could add a flash stream, which is RTMP, an IP camera, or NewTek NDI stream. So I was researching that.
NewTek is a company that's got their own proprietary stream. They may charge for that.
Well, it says all these are
another
free.
option. You could also broadcast
free.
Free. Okay, great. You could also broadcast on XSplit over there. That's stream to one of our programs.
Too, there's also this remote desktop, Chrome remote desktop.
That you have to give assign approval for the other computer to patch into that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, should I do that or?
I would like to see if I can upgrade XSplit over there and maybe broadcast XSplit screen to.
But then I have to grab it, and it just. I mean, sure, go ahead.
Well, it would interfere with our streams because we have all our streams taken up, so that would not help.
Yeah, and then it just becomes one of the streams doesn't actually become us doing a show about this. It just becomes.
I'm a 40-inch waist. I'm 225 pounds. I think we've been over that a few times. I can get on cam in a bit. I'm going to get my coffee and I'll be in to join you. I think we'll just talk about it, and then maybe when we're off the air, we can connect the two computers. Not right now, because we've got all this vulnerability security-wise to deal with. So when we go off the air, then we can connect the computers, then we'll be up and running next time. We don't have to, there's no timetable on this. I'm glad you're experimenting and looking into these things, but we're not on any timetable. There's no rush for anything. You know, we've waited 9 years for this, so I could wait 10, 12 years, doesn't matter to me. So if we want to pair the computers up, we have to be offline for security purposes.
Okay.
I think.
I'll leave that down below. I'm going to get this NDI tools.
But I appreciate you checking this out. I mean, this is a slow process of learning knowledge, and what you think might be the best is probably what we'll do. Setting up an account at NDIA Tools looks good. We can try that. All right, cool. Okay, I'll move this off my face. No, Sarah's just frustrated because she wants to do this now, and I don't blame her, but at the same time, there's no hurry. I've got lots of tabs. I do. You know, we have a show to do, and part of the show it requires 40 tabs to be open every show. Well, yeah, Sarah could make her own channel, Misanthropy, that's right. I'm not asking anybody to give up. Buy her a $60 capture card to capture the laptop via HDMI. I've got a Hop in the other room. And I used to use Hop to capture our gaming show. Hop may be able to capture another screen from another channel. That's one option. Yeah, I've got a Hop. We could apply the Hop and maybe get that in here. I have we used it 5 years ago. It'll work with that computer too. It practically is plugged in right now. I think that may be an option. A Hop is a remote broadcast utility that's used to capture gaming cards that were pre-PlayStation 4. PlayStation 4 is actually got, I think, their own computer packet built in. Yes, Hop has HDMI. That's what I'm saying. We can HDMI out Hop into the other computer. That's right. I'm thinking that might work. You know, we've got the Hop in the other room. Maybe I'll get that hooked up too. If you want to just register that account, that'd be great. I know, she wants the best, but Hop is very good. They capture whatever you're playing on an Xbox 360 screen and then send it to your computer. So theoretically, we could capture everything on that HDMI screen and send it to this computer. Yeah, we could easily see what we're saying. We could easily capture our laptop to your XSplit with that. Yeah, or other computer. I think we can use Hop and send the signal over here.
Oh, studio monitor.
It's hard to believe that these people have actually been paying $150,000 a month for electricity for their very own transmitter. David, amazing, congratulations. For 9 years, they've been paying your power bill for the transmitter. We've always used a free internet service for our video signal, and that's the key to staying alive politically. And again, that's a bannable offense. I think we explained that to you earlier. Talking about 5,000 calorie diets. It's ridiculous. Okay, we'll try to get that figured out. I think I'll hook up the Hop to that computer and see if we can patch into it. Because it takes whatever's on that screen and sends it over to a separate signal, which we can then record.
Disable web passwords. Let me see.
I think that'll work.
Custom installation access manager.
Well, Ben Carson is a neurosurgeon, and you'd think he'd be able to figure out the homeless problem, but he hasn't really applied his knowledge. It's not like separating conjoining twins. You've got homeless people living on the street who don't want to have a house, and you've got Democrats who think that they're going to somehow build houses for everybody, and they're all going to be happy living in their houses. There's a small tiny house village in Seattle that's being torn down because the people actually wanted to have autonomy in the tiny houses. They want to live in there and have their own little community. And the city of Seattle said, no, we want this as a transitionary housing thing. We don't want you to live here permanently. So, and they're literally ripping down all these housing facilities they've created for homeless people right now. So Seattle is going in the opposite direction on homelessness. You did not copy and paste that? No, really? So Trump Tardo said his chat just repeated itself. That's weird. Yeah, I've never seen that before, Trump Tardo. Yeah, and how dare you, said Dave, I like your idea of refurbishing malls for the homeless. I do too. I'm doing great, thank you. Yes, I think malls themselves could veritably be much more community oriented. And granted, people aren't shopping at malls anymore that much, but there are a lot of nice stores that still rely on malls. So malls could be separated into a separate section that has strictly leased only properties, and then the other section which is actually homeless. And we could put a divider in the mall so that we don't, never the twain shall meet kind of thing. Now we have 70 viewers. The Russians are allowing more people in. Yeah. Mark has an incorrect number. The viewers watching our show are not 70, more like 700,000. Mark has reduced those down to a very small amount. He basically alters his figures on his site. I know, I've spotted this time and time again. I wish I had a screen recorder. It's just kind of a reset that just popped up and it really didn't repeat myself. I didn't even have my hand anywhere near the button. Yeah, that's right. Trump Tardo. It's true. This is happening all the time. There's all these alterations going on in the signal. We are really being watched by a huge number of people around the world. And I'm not trying to brag or complain. I'm just saying what you see is not what you get with these browsers and with these chat rooms. The homeless people could live in a separate part of the mall. Yeah. My idea for the homeless was actually to provide, places to live in schools that are not being used. There are a lot of empty schools out there. But there are malls that are completely useless and could be closed down and converted into homeless living centers. And you think of all the cubicles, you could create a lot of homeless living areas. But you can't let them lock the place up and call it their own and have autonomous rule. And that's what the people in Seattle are facing right now. These homeless people who are living in a tiny house village are locking it up and they put a gate around it and they're calling it theirs. It's like they're squatting in it. And the city's saying, no, we want this as transitionary housing. You can't do that. Yeah. The Hauppauge, I think, would work the easiest. Let me experiment with a Hauppauge this week or tomorrow or the next day. And I'll set it up on that computer and we'll see if we can get it to work.
I think this NDI tools is, I'm going to play with this.
Okay, she's going to do the NDI tool, which I think is great too.
Anyway, maybe the Hauppauge too.
Well, we'll see. I was thinking of getting back on the gaming show and doing the Cool Rock Party on the gaming network again. I thought that might be something I might be up to doing for this year. An affordable condo complex that has access to shopping and maybe a grocery store and your mobile medical unit. Yeah, exactly. Well, our mobile medical unit idea could be exported to businesses too. The U.S. government could actually make money on these units if they parked them outside of major corporations and offered a free use plan for their employees. A lot of employees would love to go down and have a set appointment at the end of their shift and go down and have a checkup. And it would be a cost-effective thing for companies to use our government-operated mobile medical units, and we can lease them out for that purpose. Lots of benefits to get the money back to the government. You see, right now our government's just printing up money as it goes along. It doesn't really make enough money from your taxes to pay for itself. So Grand Theft Auto 5 is out. Yeah, I'm thinking of getting Grand Theft Auto 5 for Xbox 360. Really? You had a card for Hauppauge that simulated a satellite receiver? Interesting. Nice. There are a lot of empty banks and old stores. Yeah, there's more leased buildings. There's 60% of our buildings out there that for businesses are open for lease right now. We've got a lot of empty space right now in businesses. So why would we have a homeless problem when we have 18 million foreclosed or empty houses or sold houses? We've got empty buildings everywhere. I mean, it seems like we're not really allocating our resources properly. And I think if we just put bathrooms in cities like San Francisco and LA, we will really put a dent in this potential disease problem happening. They're saying that in Los Angeles there may be another outbreak of leprosy. I'm not making that up. That's serious. You have 3 Walmarts in one city, really. Wow. I was showing Sarah that there's 4 Costco's within a 10-mile area in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So if you wanted to, you could live in between the Costco's and go around from Costco to Costco and just sample food all day. Of course, you'd have to get a membership. It would be quite interesting to walk 10 miles in circles. dining at each Costco for free. So the debate has been pretty much marked by, the Democrats have been marked by the inability to talk about issues like GMOs. They don't talk about genetically modified food. The Democrats don't. They don't talk about big corporations, the dangers of big corporations. Even Bernie doesn't talk about corporate America that much anymore. Shows me that he's bought off. Democrats don't bring up vaccination issues, which are important to families right now. They're concerned about, do they force vaccinate? Do they not vaccinate? The Democrats won't talk about the chemicals being dumped in the skies, but they want to push us toward cap and trade legislation. So there's so many areas where the Democrats are falling short. They don't have a solid plan for the homeless. They don't have a solid plan to reduce the cost of health care. They say they're going to reduce the cost of healthcare, but that's a pipe dream. Our mobile medical units idea will actually automatically start lowering the cost of healthcare. We need something to get people a place to have a normal place to go to the bathroom at the very least. We're not going to partition. I never went to bathhouses in my life. That's a total lie, Zeno. Did you know that lying was a bannable offense? I'll give you one mute, and the next one is a ban. You just had blood work done to see what I was vaccinated for, and I found out I wasn't vaccinated for measles. Now at 39, your doctor wants you to get measles vaccine. I don't see why you would get one at 39 years old. In fact, measles won't kill you unless you're getting subpar care medical assistance. Measles has only killed people in third world nations that had no support for pneumonia. The most common form of measles deaths are pneumonia. The second most common form of measles deaths are neuroencephalitis, which settles in when measles starts to take down the system. The shingles is something you can get again even if you've had chicken pox. It's common now among older people to get, even though they had chicken pox, to get to shingles is chicken pox. Well, if you're at high risk for your health, then you might want to consider getting the measles shot. Sure. It'd be better to take the shot than to get the disease at your age or health risk. Yeah, I see your point. But some people just get the disease because it makes them stronger. Your immune system is stronger against measles. When you get the disease, you'll never get it again. But they say that with the measles shot, you won't get it either. But there have been some mutations in the measles shots themselves. So there's questions about that. I didn't have the measles. I actually had the chicken pox, and I did not have the measles. You can pass immunity to your children when you do catch the measles? Interesting. So a network of camgirl sites has been exposed millions of users and sex workers. Huh. I'll look at that later. TechCrunch. Wow. My top accolades. Sure, my biggest one dignitary would be, I was the guy that introduced organic food to the O brand people, the Safeway people. I started off the O brand pretty much with a packet I sent out, mass marketed across the nation. And I had a callback from the Safeway markets and the grocery outlet in Los Angeles, the head main office. The general manager called me in and I talked to him for about a half an hour and I pretty much sold him on organic food. And he was so excited, he was like super jazzed. And I thought I had a sale. And I said, so what do you want to buy? He said, nothing. I'm going to make my own organic food. And therein lies the O brand, the largest organic food provider in the country with over 350 brands now of food that's organically produced without pesticides or herbicides. If you're anti-vax, you don't necessarily have a problem reproducing. No, your anti-vax position actually enhances your ability to have children. Much less stress on your on the human genome in your body. Your DNA is under attack when you're vaccinating your kids or yourself. So I recommend 7 or 8 major vaccinations, not the 74 they give kids today, which appear to be too rapid in their aggressive attack on the body. It's really the rate at which they deliver vaccines to kids that is really a question. How fast they deliver the vaccines and how many all at once. That's the issue we have to deal with. No, I would never get a flu shot. I would rather have the flu. What is that? Misanthropy. It's a JPEG video. That video is unavailable. It won't play here. A homeless backlash dividing Bonnie Lake. Okay, I'll look at that. Thanks, Space Shuttle. You keep sending me stuff.
The accusations here at Spin Cafe involve...
And this is our local community. I'll just play it for you. They finally resolved the problem, but this is what happens when people get money, $100,000 to feed people.
The staff member. The accusations here at Spin Cafe involve a staff member allegedly dating a homeless client as well as potential drug use while on duty. Management here questions the accuracy of those claims, and they say that the potential $100,000 hit could be crippling.
What are we doing for meal service today?
Spin Cafe serves about 60 homeless and low-income people every day, providing meals and resources to help get them back on their feet. But complaints about inappropriate relationships and drug abuse threaten its future.
We want them to be able to serve the population, but they have to do it in a way that's safe.
Island County Commissioner Jill Johnson says the county had no choice but to send Spin Cafe this letter and terminate its 2-year, $100,000 grant.
We are stewards of public funds, and that means certain expectations have to be met, and we err on the side of the client. We were surprised.
Vivian Rogers Decker runs Spin Cafe. She says those concerns had either already been addressed or weren't a violation of the county contract. She says the cuts came with no warning and could force the closure of the drop-in center.
On a larger community scale, it means that our community loses out in having this resource available to the people in need.
Are you concerned at all that this could do more harm than good?
I am concerned about this population. I think the assumption that if you allow people to be in situations where they're potentially exploited by the people who are helping them is doing more harm than good.
You're welcome. Very welcome.
Meantime, people are now donating money to help keep Spin Cafe operating and serving those in need.
Many of the people, they may or may not know where to find those services. I mean, you're going to have people going hungry.
Management here at Spin Cafe hopes to make some changes and get that contract with the county reinstated, but that likely won't happen for at least a year.
Well, I understand they're getting the money they needed, so it's going forward. They made some modifications to how they deliver services, and there were problems with people, dealing drugs or something allegedly, but I don't know of any specifics. But they got the thing back up and running, so thank goodness people get fed every day in our area. 50 people a day they feed. One accolade, yes. You want the next accolade? Sure. I'll be glad to. I started a political movement 11 years ago with Sarah called America's Third Party when no one else would. And most of the parties that we reached out to in 2010 with the Centrist Alliance, they've closed down and shut down and are no longer even in existence. So we've been able to keep this rolling for 11 years, creating a huge obstacle to the two-party system, bigger than you even know. And many people don't realize that our word-of-mouth traffic is growing rapidly still. I don't bring food over there because they would have a health code violation otherwise. They're very specific about what kind of food they won't take food from somebody who cooked in the kitchen. The health code laws are very specific. No, there haven't been any parties like ours in recent years. No. In fact, our party has been around for 11 to 12 years, and there's been no other party that has lasted this long except for the Libertarian movement in recent history. But the Libertarian movement has no principles, no platform, no method to fix the country. They just simply want to get government out of our face. What's that noise?
I don't know.
There have been political movements, third parties since 1870. So third parties have been out there since the 1870s trying to stop this corruption. In 1871, the Act of 1871 created a fake government, if you will. I'll get to my third accolade in just a bit. No, I think that there's a phone out there that's just... It's not our phone? Is it ours? Yeah. Well, people who need food will get food, but if you hand a person, a homeless guy, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, he could sue you for your life savings, claiming he got sick from the peanut butter and jelly sandwich you handed him. Memos reveal Burisma Holdings pressed Obama State Department to help end corruption investigation involving Hunter Biden. That's very good. Yeah, the Republicans are doing a good job uncovering corruption in the Hunter Biden and Joe Biden scandal. But that won't correct the problem that Trump has created by doing the same damn thing that Hunter did and that Joe did. In fact, it looks more like Giuliani was reaching out for monetary gain as opposed to political gain when he reached out to Zelensky asking him for the companies that were doing business with Hunter and Joe. He wanted money. In fact, Giuliani just butt dialed a network, NBC, I believe, and it said, the butt dialing said he wanted $200,000 and he was looking to Bahrain to get it. So weird. Your friend just was watching you on Twitter, he said a screenshot of someone who sent him a friend request on Facebook. Turns out the person is still alive, like you said. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. You're talking about Jeffrey Epstein? Yeah. Jeffrey Epstein added me to his Twitter list when I started exposing the fact that he's alive. Isn't that weird? He still has an active site. Breaking news. Surprising? Sanctuary County rolls back its anti-ICE policy following string of illegal aliens charged with rape. Wow. Good. Some of these sanctuary cities and counties are going to have to wake up. You know, the mayor, Lightfoot of Chicago, said that she wants to bring in all of the illegal aliens into Chicago. I mean, why doesn't Trump just take her up on it? You know? There's 1 million of them every year accumulating at the border. Why don't we just ship them to Chicago? Transport vehicles. She really wants them there. What's wrong with that woman? You got something now? Reddit? Well, I thought they could be sent to Dearborn, Michigan, because there's too many Muslims in Dearborn. We could have a variety of people from other than Mexicans coming in and Mexicans and living in Dearborn. Okay, this is coming up. Breaking NYPD. Tomorrow we're going to break the internet? Really? Epstein cover-up has been taken off. Yeah, James O'Keefe said that you can't even use this hashtag Epstein cover-up. And they're putting together a show for the 2 days from now. But I got to tell you, if they talk about him being killed, I'm beginning to think that Veritas is just working for the cover-up, the deep state themselves. Because it's obvious to me that Jeffrey Epstein's alive. He was never killed. So the person that was in the picture was probably killed. But that was not Jeffrey Epstein. I don't experience any carbohydrate-based diet. I'm pretty much minimal on my carbohydrate use. Wow, 2 propane tanks exploded in your area in New Zealand? Senator? Wow. That can cause serious damage. Propane explosions are devastating. I'm telling you that the Epstein investigation and the cover-up, in my opinion, I've been running that story, is not about him being killed. It's about him faking his death. That's the real issue. My businesses were all vulnerable to the corporate greed around me. All my businesses suffered from illegal corporate profit, which was leveraged against the lowly small businessman out there. I was running a small advertising company, and I wasn't going to run it in the red like Donald does. He runs his companies into the red and then bankrupts them. I would never do that. So when I recognized that corporate America was taking a huge chunk of my profit, I couldn't possibly compete. That's when I closed the business. It wasn't because of a failure of functionality. It's that the laws are rigged to give corporations huge benefits in almost every area. So that's just not true, Zeno. New York PD Commissioner James O'Neill steps down. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, there's been a massive cover-up in NYPD. Remember the Anthony Weiner emails? 340,000.
A big change at the top for the NYPD. Police Commissioner O'Neill announcing today he is leaving the post.
O'Neill served 3 years as police commissioner.
Okay, so there's a big shakeup at NYPD. I have a feeling there's something much more complicated going on at NYPD. 9 people have killed themselves recently. 2 or more of those people were investigators in the Anthony Weiner cover-up of those emails. I'm not trying to outsmart corporations. I'm trying to get political power in the hands of the American people. The Democrats will always cater to corporations, and so will the Republicans. That's why I'm surprised nobody's running on an anti-corporate position. You'd think Bernie would be, but he's so bought out that he won't even take that stand anymore. Yeah, this Ilhan Omar and Bernie Sanders are calling for a working class end of Western imperialism crap. Bernie Sanders is in the 1%, making over $2 million a year from his book sales. He doesn't know what it's like to be an average person. Ilhan Omar is sitting on a big fat salary, and she married her brother in order to make him a U.S. citizen. I mean, she needs to be charged with a crime. Trump isn't doing anything. Bernie is building a communist political movement within the Democratic Party. And I would expect a lot of Democrats to come to America's Third Party and join us as the election starts to materialize. Once Donald Trump resigns and you got only Pence, it's highly unlikely people are going to vote for Pence in the 2020 election. So I urge you Republicans to consider voting for us as well. Both parties can find a home here at America's Third Party. The enclave of centrists that we have growing across the country will definitely love our ideas. We're not trying to tax you like the Democrats. We're not trying to rip you off. And we're not going to force regulations on you like the Democrats do. That's a sad, sad state of affairs where they keep pushing regulations they can't even finance themselves. Happens in our state all the time. Tell everybody briefly about our recent election. Had like 10 different laws, 12 different measures that we had to vote on to rescind the bad taxing of our democratically led legislators. Great. It's just crazy. I mean, we had to literally rescind them in our ballot, the mistakes of our legislator, democratically led legislation here in Washington. When Sarah ran for office in 2008, our state had $16 billion in debt. Now our state has $89 billion in debt. We have spent $73 billion over budget in 10 years or 11 years. So on average, $70 billion. That means $7 billion a year we've been overspending in Washington. That's huge. I mean, that's a huge example of incredibly bad government. $7 billion over budget every year. Yeah, Zeno, we're going to ask you, your vote is not going to be censored, it just won't be read. They claim they only read when a person has over 10,000 write-in votes. That's the only time they start counting. I'm glad the Trump administration is working diligently to uncover the Democrats' corruption, especially Hunter and Joe. But there's Hillary, and we're waiting for Donald to do anything with Hillary, and he hasn't done anything. So if you're still standing there saying that Donald is fighting the deep state, think again. It's highly unlikely he's made any progress at all. He hasn't prosecuted anyone. Like I said, if he'd prosecuted Warren when I suggested she get a DNA test, she got a DNA test. He didn't even make a big deal about it. She has, how are you on 2 cams? I'm doing fine. Does Sarah have me on the 2nd cam too? I'm only allowed to broadcast on 1 camera.
What do they mean? How are you?
Well, I don't know how we're getting 2 feeds going on. We only have the USB microphone, which is the only feed we have. I'm not sure what you mean.
I had another camera, but
Trump hasn't done anything to stop the deep state. Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not saying tonight, but...
No, your vote is not a wasted vote. Your vote is a wasted vote if you're voting Democrat or Republican. So based on that simple fact that neither party is going to correct the problems of the past, they're only dividing our country, a vote for the left or the right during this election period is a wasted vote. A vote for the center, even if it is a wasted vote, is still a statement vote. Much better than voting like you have in the past, which hasn't accomplished anything. There's a Baghdadi hoax going on. Death keeps on giving. Yeah, this guy died 6 times according to the news, yet he keeps dying. Jeffersonian Girl, we got that one in the lineup. Okay, good. Thank you, Scissor Fight. No, Americans don't have to vote left or right. We can also vote independent in the center of the political spectrum. At this point, all of our votes are wasted. We are looking at a hostile takeover of our country by financial giants who have so much money that our lowly officials are like money grubbers looking for a little bit of money to grease their pocket when these multi-billionaires are throwing money left and right at, like, Mark. Mark gets money just shutting us down, censoring us. They're throwing money left and right any way they can. They have no concern for how much money they have to pay to buy our country. And we have officials in the Democratic and Republican Party are willing to work for that money. They don't care about you or I. They just care about getting reelected and getting money in their trust fund to get reelected. That's the inherent problem with our government. And they are borrowing money to finance the operation of our government, which makes our entire nation very, very vulnerable. I've been a huge obstacle to the two-party system. The two-party system is not an obstacle to me because I built America's third party around the two-party system. They're an obstacle to you as a voter to ever see any difference in your life. Okay, man, measles, and make-believe. I'll take a look at that later. Thanks. Yeah, there are people that made a lot of money on Mark, and Mark has made a huge amount of money from what I gather. So I'm not here to give you specifics about that because I don't know. All I hear is hearsay. And I can tell you the preponderance of hearsay suggests that Mark is making some serious money doing this. I just don't know how much, and I don't have a subpoena on his records to find that out. The good news about Trump is that he's going to have to show 8 years of tax returns to New York on a criminal charge. The appeal case fell through. So it's very likely that we're going to find out the goods on his tax returns, which he so desperately wants to hide from the American people. And that should be enough to push him over the edge, and he'll probably resign. Mark is not going to stop because he thinks he can get away with this, because there are no laws specifically affecting him.
We shut this down for now.
Okay. Yeah, I guess so. Thank you. If there was a law like the Fairness Doctrine that was in place right now, we would be able to prosecute Mark. And the FCC would take a complaint, and we would have them look into this. But the Fairness Doctrine has been nullified over the past 30, 40 years. It no longer applies to public utilities, networks. They no longer have to serve the public interest. Although I'm being treated differently by Mark over other broadcasters, and I can prove that, all I can say is that my rights are violated. My constitutional rights, equal protection under the law, is being violated, and my freedom of speech is being violated. But there's no specific law that says he can't do what he's doing. That's the problem. And there's no law in America preventing censorship in a country that claims there is no censorship. I mean, how absurd is that? And Ocasio-Cortez is giving her support to anti-police protesters with a punch a cop sign? You've got to be kidding me. Ocasio is telling people to punch police officers? That is crazy. Incendiary behavior. Yeah, and Mark says he's improving the site, but he never brought on co-hosting. I've never seen any improvements in the site. People equate chemtrails with the flat earth theory because the sites that are being produced by the government oftentimes divert you to the flat earth theory when they're talking about chemtrails. The government's making sites left and right as disinformation sites, and whenever we have a solid concern about being sprayed, the government produces an alternate site that makes you think that that's wacky by adding the flat earth theory. That's why they do it. Wow. That's weird, Zenatril. Thanks for sharing your concerns. So Sarah went down the rabbit tail on NDI, and she'll see where she's going from there. Just learning more stuff, it takes time. It's absorbing, you know. I first got involved with NewTek when I bought their video toaster, and then the company got bought out by another company.
Oh, NewTek was the one that created the video toaster?
The original NewTek company in Kansas, but this isn't the same NewTek company. This is slightly different. They were bought out a few times. But NewTek originally built the video toaster, which I started my podcast ability on. I started making TV commercials and videos for weddings on a video toaster way back when. So I believe that Trump is going to resign, and he'll probably resign in the next 6 months, because there's more than enough damning evidence to suggest that his tax returns are the smoking gun.
I don't doubt it, Zenatril.
No, I got rid of the video toaster. Sarah realized that we had too many things in our office, and I said, you know, Sarah, I'm not going to use that video toaster again, so I'm getting rid of it. I sold it online for $600, and I was surprised I even got that.
Well, I thought the video toaster and the Amiga were the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Amiga 2000, I built it up to a 2500 with a processor board, which I paid like $500 for. And then I added the video toaster, and then the combined computer cost about $4,500. But it worked great. But it only worked in a nonlinear, in a linear fashion, not in a nonlinear fashion. The next video toaster up from there had a nonlinear editing feature using the Amiga software, and I just didn't get into that. But that was the next gen. Like when I bought an Amazon Echo the other day, you said you can stop it from collecting most of your data, when my statement was that they do collect and listen to you.
I think he's talking to slow modes.
Okay.
Xenu, are you talking about a different site, or are you talking about one of the sites David currently broadcasts on? And somebody's trying to send us a picture over at that. Okay.
Yeah.
Not enjoyable. No.
Mr. David, I get to eat all thanks to you. How is that? Are you getting paid to DDoS our show? How much money have you made DDoSing our show so far, Guest 900? See, these are testimonies I get all the time from this person. How much money have you made so far, total? Just roundabout. Give us a general figure.
Oh, got it. You're restating what Dignitary wrote.
Okay. Well, give me a number, because Sarah needs to know. Yeah, really.
I don't believe you.
She doesn't believe you, but just give her a number just so she'll know. How much money have you made so far in Cameroon? $2,000. That's a lot of money in Cameroon. That's what he says he's made so far. Thank you. She doesn't believe you, but thank you for at least your eyewitness testimony. No, it is censorship simply by...
He's not saying that. He's restating that from Dignitary because he felt like Dignitary...
He missed the point, but Dignitary...
was saying that and he did not respond or something.
Yeah, the fact is, anybody who limits access to any one particular person on their site over the others is treating them unfairly, and I'm not getting equal protection under the law. That in and of itself is censorship, and that is the one thing that's being done to us that's unfair, and I can definitely see a case there. But how to proceed from here, I don't know, nor do I care at this point. Thank you, Sarah, for all your help learning about this stuff. It's a slow process. I don't expect miracles at all, so appreciate it. Mr. David, Mark pays very well. I'm sure he does. That's the problem. We hear all these people saying how much Mark pays, but that's totally illegal to pay you guys to censor our show. Okay, now Joe Biden's big lie, which is being made available because of the Republicans' investigation, is that he was not aware of his son's service on Burismo's board. And there's photographs of Joe Biden meeting with Hunter Biden and the Burismo board members. I mean, it's undeniable. I don't know. Maybe you might have to log everything, but does it even matter in the long run? Because things roll along, moving on and on. I will take 2/3. I will take a 25% reduction in my salary. I'm going to offer a 25% of my salary to local food banks and to the garden behind the White House. But I'm not going to give away my whole salary because, unlike Trump, I don't make $110 million on my hotels. And I wouldn't make $110 million. I wouldn't have conflict of interest. I wouldn't have a side business. I wouldn't open up the gift shop at the White House with my own personal stuff in there and profiting from it like Obama did. I would never do that. But a 25% reduction, I will take 25% of the money they give me and put it in a special account set up solely for food banks and support of the garden at the White House, which I hope to produce food for people locally, and for our buffet, which we will feature a full function buffet at the White House virtually during working hours at a set price of $14 or $15 per plate. Oh yeah, Trump's been through cheating and corruption and issues. This is not news to him. You got part of The Apprentice you want to play us? Okay, that looks like fun. Chemotherapy, a money-making machine. Well, this looks good too.
Doctor, when we talk about cancer a little bit, various types out there, what are some of the things that you've seen in terms of your patients and what some of the things that you've been able to do?
A better thing to talk about in relationship to, well, I will talk about that, right? A better thing to talk about, however, is the relationship between profits and cancer.
And, you know, to kill you therapy, known as chemotherapy, where they try to kill you, it's very profitable. And it's one of the most profitable areas of the cancer research. That's why a lot of people have suggested that the cancer industry is a conspiracy to not cure you, to simply make money on you until you die. Trump isn't broke. Trump is leveraged heavily. He's not broke. He's heavily leveraged. I never said Trump was broke. I would have to take a salary in that, you know, the amount of money necessary to just maintain a life in the White House and any extra cost that I would incur would have to have something behind it. But I wouldn't have to, you know, in any way pay for a lot of the things like the paper and the ink. I think that's covered by the White House. No, I don't buy old cars, Zenetril. And nor would I want to get an old clunker. I actually sold 2 old cars just to get out from under them because they're basically money pits. You know, all I've seen so far is that anybody who endorses Trump is really endorsing Russia. No, I did not invent rubber cement. Well, I'm glad the car runs fine. It still pollutes. A Firebird is a known polluter, and there's no way I'd run some old carburetor in front of my house. It's a terrible idea. I would not want to do that. Yeah, I don't know. Joe's going to make a comeback. He said he can lose in Iowa, no problem, because according to a recent poll, Joe Biden can beat Donald Trump. Check out this story. One year from election, Trump trails Biden but leads Warren in battlegrounds. I'll show you what I have to do to start this thing up. It's ridiculous. Every time a site comes in, I have to go incognito to see it. At least I have that now. Yeah, so Trump trails Biden in the Electoral College vote. That's right, but leads Warren in battleground areas. So, ironically, Biden can still beat Trump. So if you're thinking of getting behind any Democrat in this election, the numbers are working for Biden. They still are. But Donald Trump's resilience is mostly based on his hardcore Republican base that doesn't ask any questions about what this all means. Most people that are facing questions of impeachment would normally, you know, build their case to support Donald. But most of the people that support Donald are simply saying that it's all a Russian hoax and it's fake news. So none of them can really defend their position. Whereas most of us who've questioned Donald Trump have a litany of things in their brain that they can just fire away. If Donald Trump's colluding with Paul Manafort to sell properties at a gain to Russian oligarchs. Trump stopped Dan McGahn from testifying about how Trump was trying to fire Mueller, which in both cases are obstruction of justice. You know, I'm like Greta, believe it or not. I don't make fun of her as a person because I know that she and I bear a similar concern for the environment. Yes, I had one ticket in LA County in 1992, and believe me, that was the only ticket that I've got on my record, but it was me making a legal U-turn in LA County. But in Hollywood, they called it an illegal U-turn. And there's no way I would have known. I mean, I read the driver's instructions for legal U-turns in LA. And technically, Hollywood is in LA County, but they had a separate rule in Hollywood saying I couldn't turn in an intersection in Hollywood. So some motorcyclist pulled me over and gave me that ticket. That's my one and only ticket. Body cam footage of a woman being shot, wielding scissors in front of a cop, and he just killed her. Wow. I've got a special section I'll add to police state as well. I'll play that later tonight. Thanks, I guess. There's evidence of huge forests in the heart of Antarctica. I wouldn't doubt that. There's a theory, and I don't know if you, since we're on Conspiracy Monday, we'll talk about it briefly. I can't run for mayor in my city because I don't live in the city proper. The city limits won't allow me to run. I would have run for mayor in this city because it's run by a bunch of idiots, but I couldn't. I've never talked specifically about fake news, and those words, fake news, were developed not about, I never used those words until CNN used those words to describe Pizzagate. Then Trump used those words to describe anyone questioning him. That's the origin of the word fake news. I never used those words prior. I did not break the law in LA County, but I contested it. The guy said, hey, that's the law in Hollywood, buddy. Okay? And I don't question the cop. I just say, okay, write me the ticket. We got problems with our mayor. Our mayor, one year, a while back, decided to cut down one of the oldest Gary oak trees in the world. He didn't bother to ask anybody in the community that he was going to do it, whether they wanted him to do it. They didn't look at any option to construct a metal support system for the tree. He just decided that the insurance rate was too high to cover the tree over the driving area next to the post office, and cut down the most beautiful tree I've ever seen in my life, without any discussions whatsoever with the people. It's crazy. No justification whatsoever. And this is the kind of mayor we've had in our area, and consequently our area is going bankrupt. Okay, this is a woman right now. We've got Ilhan Omar over there, marrying her brother and not even getting prosecuted whatsoever by Donald Trump. He hasn't prosecuted Ilhan Omar. He hasn't prosecuted Elizabeth Warren, who has no DNA of Cherokee Indian in her. Donald Trump could have prosecuted Ilhan Omar, Elizabeth Warren, and Hillary Clinton on a couple different charges, but has done nothing. Now, this is a pic of a young lady who's running for a position in a government role for the town of Lewiston, Maine. Now, a lot of Muslims have come into Maine recently under Obama's settlement plans, and now with Trump, he's still continuing with the resettlement plan that the UN put in place. Trump never stopped that, by the way. But there's no audio or video proof of her harassing another candidate or violent threats harassing him at his home. So make her go viral. Her name is Safiya Khalid. Yeah. And she's flipping people off. These are the kind of people that are coming into our country running for office. Nice, huh? So Trump hasn't done a damn thing to stop any deep state operations whatsoever. If anything, he's a person who completely disregards the current problems that are occurring in America and blames everything on everyone else. The tree was not near a power line. It was potentially going to drop on the cars that are driving under it. I've played lottery a couple times, yeah. Only a couple times for Powerball things. But the Gary Oak in Oak Harbor was huge. And it was so tragic to see a mayor make such an idiotic statement. It was beyond belief. Now here's where the Gary Oak is. Oh, they kept the wood. There it is right there, them cutting it down right in front of the library. They literally butchered the hell out of it. And if you like big trees and old trees, I don't even think there's a picture of the Gary Oak before it got cut down. Yeah. This is one of the oldest trees in the country, and all we have is a picture of a stump. Thanks to him. A man in New York pummeled an elderly stranger in an elevator after pushing the button for him. This made your blood boil. I hope that man gets caught and never sees the light of day again. Let's take a look. He asks him if he wants to push his button. So he had some rage issues. He walks in. He asks the guy, "Yeah, where do you want to?" There he is, going in the elevator. Guy says, "Where do you want to go?" "Oh, okay. Okay, no problem." And he just pummels the guy, beats him senseless. And then wipes it down for fingerprints. Nice. No, there was no audio in that. It kind of reminds me of a situation where I was in Seattle with Sarah. We stayed in just a very low-cost motel. It was no big deal. And we were at, in the mornings, many of these motels have breakfasts, and it was a great breakfast for the price. I think we paid like $120. This was like 6 years ago, so now it's up to $200. But we went into the breakfast lounge, and we're eating breakfast, and some guy came in there with a backpack and started loading up all the sausages and walnuts, bacon, eggs, whatever he could stuff in his bag. And the manager immediately spotted him and went right in and said, "Sir, excuse me, sir, are you on the list of registered motel patrons here?" And he went, Yeah, I'm a resident here, man." And the guy said, "What's your name?" "Butt Wipe." "Yeah, my last name's Butt Wipe. Look me up." It's just so ridiculous. I mean, this is the kind of mentality they've got to fight every day. People coming in there, Mr. Butt Wipe, and staying in a hotel and using their breakfast nook. It's like, this is going on all over the country, not just Seattle. Everywhere. People are hungry, and they're using dangerous, scary techniques to get food. Now, that wasn't dangerous or scary, but he could have gone physically violent against everybody in the restaurant if he wanted to. Mr. Butt Wipe, yeah. No one would ever have known. All we would have known is when he got out of there is Mr. Butt Wipe came in and beat up a bunch of people. In my area, there were 3 people at a local bus stop waiting for a bus ride. This is about 3 years ago. And those 3 people were accosted by 2 homeless guys that decided to beat the living daylights out of them. All 3 people ended up getting curbed, broken collarbones, broken wrists. They literally took their arms and broke them on the curb. Boom, crack broken, crack collarbone, crack. Didn't even appear in the newspaper. Because the newspaper didn't want anyone to know that the bus stops are dangerous in this democratically led area with all these nice services. I ended up seeing those people. They could barely talk. They were so beaten up. It was unbelievable. The only way I found out about it is I met them in a nursing home. I was visiting someone at the time in a nursing home, and I met them there. It's like they were in full 4-point, their whole body couldn't be moved. They were just that beaten up. It's horrible. No, I didn't have any duck noises. We had the Hillary duck earlier in our show. There's a duck that quacks just like Hillary. And she's pretty funny. I mean, it's a hilarious duck. Thank you. This guy says quitting is not an option for Donald Trump. a lot of you people are going to be really hanging out to dry supporting Donald Trump, and I want you to realize that Donald Trump has taken over 15 of my ideas. So when Trump decides to resign, you'll still have a party to come back to. I'll be here for you. But in the meantime, it's more than likely he's going to have to resign. Well, let's be clear. We have photographs of what appears to be Greta Thunberg. You know how she claims she made it all the way across the Atlantic by herself? So True Blue actually found something from the actual arrival time when she got in. You know, she never mentions chemtrails. She never mentions the weather modification plans that are going on right under our nose, creating this nightmare. And of course, Leonardo DiCaprio is grooming her for what, I don't know, maybe a possible marriage when she turns 18. He hasn't married anybody, so maybe he's looking at her as his possible wife. I don't know. Child bride, maybe? Just thinking. But the teen activist Greta Thunberg sailed across the Atlantic to go to do a climate meeting on her own $3 million boat, which was loaned to her by somebody. I don't know, but let's take a look at her arriving on this boat. And look at how many men are on this boat securing it. Now, mind you, it takes five men to dock her and properly rig her boat. I seriously don't believe she made it. Now watch her step out on the deck and look at how small she is compared to the other men on the boat. I seriously don't believe she traveled the whole distance on that boat by herself. I've sailed before, and I can tell you that it is a hands-on operation. When you have a boat that big, it takes 3 guys full-time just to manage it in heavy waves. There's no way in the world that 16-year-old girl took that boat at that size across the ocean. There's no way. Impossible. So I believe we've been defrauded by this person. She no doubt flew, and then they moved the boat out and they just did a cameo of her there. I don't believe she landed. There was no tweets from her along the trip. There were no video archives of her along the trip that I could spot anywhere on the internet. There's no video archive of her roughing it out there with a camera sitting on a ledge, handling all the winds and the terrible, I don't believe it. I just don't. And somebody said, well, there's no Wi-Fi out in the middle of the ocean. Well, there's sat phones, and a person who has a $3 million yacht is bound to have a sat phone. I mean, hello. Trump family is crooked, not very smart. Yeah, that's pretty much a foregone conclusion. Yeah. You figured that one out? Yeah, you're smarter than the others. Yeah, Donald Trump is very, very corrupt. Yeah, Scissor Fight said it's total BS. The boat would never make it across the ocean by a 16-year-old girl. And some little girl with Asperger's wouldn't have the attention span to sail for even a few hours. So true, guess 326. Yeah. She claims she did it alone. Everybody across the country pre-talked about the story that she was going out there alone by herself. And that was the big lead up to the Greta Thunberg story. I would sail across the ocean if I had the proper training and enough rigging. I mean, I don't have the sailing skills even to do it myself, and I've sailed before. I haven't sailed in the nude, Zenatril. I've swam in the nude. I skinny dipped one time. You think Greta lied about sailing just like she's lying when she talks about climate change? I agree, Misanthropy. No, the court case my sister had against me over my handling of the will is pretty much public knowledge. There's nothing more to it. Both of us ended it amicably, and we never talked about it after that. It was an issue that would pop up, I'm sure, but in no way is it debilitating. I defend myself as being 100% honest, and I was never charged with anything at all. Nothing more to say, really. We settled amicably out of court. I have never really wanted to sail in the nude Xenitril because satellite reconnaissance has the ability to pick up your body from a satellite with crystal clarity. Oh yeah, and I don't want anyone to see my body part, So I'm not going to go out naked anywhere outside. When I swim in my spa, I always make sure I'm under the cover before I jump in the spa naked and skinny dip. Yeah, I always make sure nobody can see me from a satellite position. The Clintons are crooked and really not very smart. They can barely spell. I know. What if I told you that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton was a made marriage, a set-up marriage? Would that freak you out? They never really wanted, they were kind of forced together in college. I doubt they've ever even had sex together. I know that Chelsea's looks more like her real father, Webb Hubbell. Yeah, they've never denied it either. Webb Hubbell was asked point blank by a newscaster if Chelsea's his daughter, and he wouldn't deny it. It's highly unlikely Chelsea's the daughter of Bill. So I don't think Bill and Hillary ever had any kids, really. Here's Webb Hubbell, Hillary's assistant during that time period. You can see they look a lot alike. That's definitely his daughter. Related to Hillary, though, Space Shuttle is accusing, Misanthropy of downloading Green Acres. And ironically, Misanthropy says, how do you know I was downloading Green Acres? You hacking my computer. Now Misanthropy is very weirded out by Space Shuttle because somehow he knew to talk about it. Yeah, you may want to have your virus check fulfilled on your computer, Misanthropy. Something's not right. If you are downloading Green Acres and he saw that, that's too weird. You think Chelsea's a dude? Really? She is a he? Well, the news articles that talk to you about her going with a crew and everything, that's nice. That's special. The problem is I have all these pre-news articles that I have to go now look into my background, and I have to pull up all the stories about Greta going alone across the ocean by herself. And this is going to be tough because I got to go back in my history and find the earliest recorded statement. And wow, I never thought I'd have to rewrite this. Let me see my earliest recorded mention of Greta. There's just such a large amount of stuff here. Here's the earliest stuff I have. 16-year-old Greta Thunberg is sailing 13 days across the Atlantic to speak at a climate conference in New York. Here's what she won't just dial in. Here's why she won't just dial in. Her journey will take 13 days and involves eating freeze-dried food, not showering, and going to the bathroom in a bucket. When asked why she was taking the arduous journey, she simply said virtual appearances don't get any attention at all. Thunberg and her crewmates, her father, Svante, and brothers and filmmaker, will sail forward north toward Greenland down the coast. Okay. Now let me go back to the other story. I may have just misread it. I'm more than willing to admit that I may have made a mistake, but It says the teenage climate activists will set sail Wednesday from England to New York to attend a conference. The 16-year-old climate change activist who's inspired student protests around the world will leave Plymouth, bound for New York in a high-tech but decidedly low-comfort sailboat. So apparently the grandson of Monaco's late Prince Rainier and actress Grace Kelly and fellow boats yachtsman Boris Herrmann offered her passage on a racing yacht as she travels to UN climate summits. Okay, I stand corrected then. I had no idea that she did it with these other people. Now I know. No toilet or shower, equipped with emergency motor and generator. The way it was written initially, and because I didn't read the whole article at the time, I assumed that she was doing this alone. So it's my fault. I don't mind correcting myself on this one. Yeah. I think I was just misled by the early part of the article. I didn't read closely enough. But thanks for correcting me. And you understand how I could get that impression. Okay, well, so we know now that Greta didn't do this by herself, that she did it with the boat that came from the Princess of Monaco. Therein lies the problem is she's so close to the Princess of Monaco that I believe that she may very well be the Princess of Monaco. Something's not right about the image here. Yeah, there's just a lot of strange things about the princess and her. She seems to resemble the princess quite a bit. So, I'm not going to say she is the princess, but it's a little convenient for her to have done the whole trip on the princess's yacht. Now here's the princess who looks very similar to Greta in the face. Yeah. She's 19 though, whereas Greta is not. Here's an earlier picture of her in 2009 of the princess. This is 10 years ago. Let's take a look at Greta. It's just strange that she virtually looks like this person. It's difficult for me to imagine deception of this level, but the fact that she went on the Monaco Prince, I mean, that's a pretty close match. Yeah. I would say that nose and eyes and the structure of their face is almost identical. If she wore her hair back, the princess would look just like Greta. So that begs the question, are these global elitists trying to profit from cap and trade legislation? And they are. They're at the center of the cap and trade legislation plan. I don't really know. You can see that they look very similar. No, I've never been into Slim Jims. They're very bad for you. David, the boat originally belonged to George Soros? Wow. I didn't spend tens of thousands of dollars on computers back in the 80s. I spent no more than maybe 8. That's a lie. Back when computers cost $4,000 a computer, that's a lie. I will not accept that. David, we're taught to profit from everything. That's the problem. We're never going to solve the world's problems by profiting. The biggest solution to mankind's problems, the old-time problems of hunter and gathering, is limitations on food. Well, if people really cared about money, they would have just stocked up on meat. But instead, agriculturists developed ways of making food for people at a deficit, at a cost. It was very expensive to make food for people. The upfront costs are huge, with no real knowledge that they're going to produce a profit. And most farmers to this day don't really see a profit. The reality is our large population never would have even reached this point without agriculture. So now we have to do something kind of like agriculture, but we have to clean our environment so that we can have a nice place to live here on this planet. Now we have another type of agriculture to engage in, which is the cleaning of the environment so that it doesn't create massive amounts of toxicity for humanity to deal with. That's not some profit-making venture. Even Boy and Slat took $7 million in crowdfunding money and tried to get plastic out of the ocean and failed miserably. They managed to get about 3,000 pounds of plastic out of the ocean for $7 million. They're doing it again with another plan in mind, and they're going to keep the testing up to see if they can get something that works. But in the end, he'll probably lose money. In the end, it's a losing proposition. They'll never make enough from the plastic, which will produce oil, to compensate for the amount of money up front to clean the ocean. So right now it's funding on crowdfunding sources, not on an actual return on investment. So yeah, what is the point in being a farmer, doing all the work to feed everyone so you can be broke? And now agriculture is turning into something almost untenable for many farmers. The American farmer is under attack. And that's another thing I'd like to help people in Iowa understand, is that I'm not going to destroy the American farm's dream of homeowners, of ownership of their farm, as well as growing organically. Many farmers who are growing organically without pesticides and herbicides are now being hit with suits by Monsanto or Bayer, who bought Monsanto, claiming that they're using genetically modified seeds, therein making it impossible to sell their product as organically grown food, and having to pay the Monsanto company because their hybridized seeds have crossbred with the ones parked next to it in an organic field. And those farmers have to pay for their seeds, even though they're not even choosing those seeds to grow their own vegetables. They're just hybridizing on the field. Farmers aren't making enough money at all. With my 100% legalization campaign, we should be able to actually develop a soil alternative for many farmers who are trying to get their soil back to health. And I'll be putting together a program freely sponsored by the USDA to help revitalize soil plans by offering growing hemp on their retired soil so it would bring nutrition back into the ground. Hemp will be completely legal, as well as cannabis and marijuana, when I become president. And the goal is simply to grow financially profit centers for every farmer and retailer out there, so that you guys can make more money somehow downstream that you can't make right now. Because marijuana is definitely here to stay. There's a bowl full of marijuana there somebody created for America's Third Party. We can't use it, but that was back in 2016. They just took a picture of it. Yeah. This is right around the time legalization was happening, and I guess they were growing their own. But we don't in any way, grow it here. I would never grow it. It's illegal to grow marijuana right now. So even in states that legally authorize it, you still have to have licenses and everything in our state. MK Ultra, meet Greta Thunberg, the George Soros trained high school dropout, climate chaos, teen activist, and her family of actors. Okay. Thank you. We pretty much got her pegged as a climate change activist who's pushing cap and trade legislation. And that's pretty much what her primary goal is, not to talk about chemtrails. She'd never talk about weather modification, because that's what the people who are funding her really want to do. They want to create a climate disaster in the world so that they could get funding and tax everybody. Yeah, meet the Greta Kooky Poopy YouTube show. Okay, cool. That's a good one.
Hey guys, it's Mark.
Hey Mark.
Here at Global Agenda. I made the video you're about to watch. I edited it yesterday, the day that young Greta here spoke for the United Nations in that 4-minute and 4-second.
Okay, we'll get to him tonight. That'll be good. Got a lot of stuff to talk about every night, and I'm glad we have these extra hours to bring in the good links, because it really makes our evening show enjoyable. Even though at times it gets boring, I admit, because some of these people are pretty verbose and go off, but hey, you're not going to get this kind of not kind of cutting-edge alternative journalism or free press anywhere in the mainstream media. I was spraying my fruit enzyme on me. Yeah, we got more Creepy Joe. He was touching the kids the other day. He keeps doing it. He can't seem to control himself. Here he is there, Creepy Joe. That's hilarious. He's like, what do you have your hand on my leg for? The expression in the back row says it all. That's pretty funny. He's got his hand on the sheriff's leg. And then we showed the video last night that was played on Twitter. I'm not sure if it's even out on Twitter anymore, but let's take a look. It's ridiculous how many weird things he's up to. I just played it a few minutes ago. He's looking at the children, and then he kisses them. This is after he said he wouldn't do this again. Look at this. I was just on the campaign trail yesterday in Des Moines. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, nuzzle, nuzzle, kiss, kiss. He is so affectionate with those children, and even after he's been warned, he's still up to it. It's like it's a passion that only a pedophile would have. It keeps him going like that. No, not at all. In fact, believe me, like I said, I gave up that $4,500 computer for $600 after I made a little bit of money on it. I never made a lot of money on the videos I made with a toaster. The videos that I made actually barely broke even with the cost of the toaster. It turns out that it takes money to make money, but if you don't make enough money, you lose that money up front. So I've never been in any way a materialist. You got me pegged totally wrong. I'm going to ban you from the show. Yeah, you got me pegged as a materialist. I've never been a materialist in my life. And no, I can't ask Beto O'Rourke to be anything other than go away, hide. I pretty much destroyed the opportunity that Beto O'Rourke had with my viewership. I believe that one of the reasons why Beto O'Rourke stepped out of the race was because of the weight of this show. We know that Beto O'Rourke started doing a cooking show because of my cooking show online. We know they've been tracking me in the Democratic Party. We know that a lot of eyes are on this show every night, and they know full well that when I speak about Beto O'Rourke and lay it on the line about how he was a criminal, hit-and-run guy, wrote stories about wanting to kill children, that just destroyed any hope of him ever becoming president. And that was my primary goal. It wasn't to put him back in the game. He dropped out of the race, rightfully so. The man should never have gotten into the race. The only reason why Beto O'Rourke was even put out there was because he looks like me. I mean, it's pretty obvious they needed somebody that matched my look because I'm so popular around the world. People are like, yeah, sure, Dave. Obviously, they want somebody who presents themselves like you and looks kind of like you. And why not pick this scumbag? Well, there's no exchange for a good guy like me and putting a scumbag on the political scene. I mean, clearly you can see that this guy has got no integrity whatsoever. He's just a mindless little mouth, flailing his arms around. But I think they thought that maybe they had somebody who kind of resembled me. I don't know. I mean, you got to admit there's a physical striking resemblance between me and Beto. But I don't want to take your guns away from you. I'm not gonna go against your right to bear arms. I don't have a brain dead attitude toward Israel. I would always see Israel as an ally, not as an enemy like this guy. Just because I'm against Zionism doesn't mean I'm a person who would be hating Jewish people like this guy seemed to be. You see how much I look like the guy? It's kind of strange, isn't it? Kind of weird that the Democrats would just prop this guy up there to go against me. Plus, I'm like 10 years older than the guy, and I look better than he does. Okay, DOJ and Trump to further militarize police, $600 billion more in equipment. You know, this is why I contend that Donald Trump is another deep state puppet like Obama. Obama did the same damn thing. More money to local law enforcement to create on-the-spot SWAT teams. No intention other than to violate any possible chance we'll ever have of avoiding posse comitatus, where our own police are used against our own people. Trump just used Executive Order 20 in 2017 to expand the militarized police forces across the nation, just like the deep state puppet that he is. That's a classic example right there, folks. If you don't see that Trump is building the New World Order under our nose, this really says it all. I gladly impersonate Trump, but I don't want anyone to read my tax returns. 10 years of tax returns. You can gladly see them, except I'm not going to allow anyone to see them. Okay. Why are you attacking Stormy Daniels? Just because she's another woman here? It's like you're dangerously pushing on Stormy Daniels' right to exist here. Just because Stormy's done some nude things, it doesn't mean she's ever going to do anything more. Well, she might do a few strip teases just to, make some money, but she said she's not going to do any more anal. Haven't you made that commitment, Stormy? You're not going to do any more anal scenes? Meet the terrifying new robot cop that's patrolling Dubai. Really? We'll wait for Stormy's response in just a second. Okay. They're deploying a robot policeman in Dubai. Whoa. Oh, nice. That's what I want to run into when I go to Dubai. The uniformed bot cop may all be able to read human faces and identify possible miscreants, but it disturbingly lacks a mouth. Well, that's nice. Hey, you look like a miscreant. I'm going to arrest you on the suspicion that you might be one, thereby maintaining the legality of this arrest. Like Minority Report. Everybody is a criminal. I'll add this to our YouTube link.
Dubai Police Robot can help people use our smart services, like checking their fines and applying for contact certificates. Also, it has a face recognition. And if you are services and
Hello, welcome to Dubai. I do not see your papers. Have you been chipped with all of the necessary vaccinations? You will now be chipped. Yeah, so Trump is definitely building a police state under our nose as the typical deep state puppet that he is. Okay, so you are not doing anal, but you can get, that's good to know, Stormy. Thanks for sharing. My tie has eyeballs on it, yes. It's like an eyeball tie. It's not a costume. Is your face a costume? Okay, so she said no anal. Stormy is on record, no anal. So if any of you happen to see a porn of her with anal, it was done prior to her saying that. Homegrown digital life. Digital rifle makes... Oh, this guy's printing up digital rifles? That's scary. I don't know. I can't even get the article, thank goodness. It requires subscription rates to Australian newspapers. You know, I'm going to use this Ragged Old Flag by Johnny Cash, or would you prefer The Rugged Cross by... yeah. I never saw Stormy in any video or porn. I don't watch porn, especially Stormy porn. I'm not into big women, you know, for one. And I don't watch porn for two. Porn watches me. Yeah. Every time I get an email, I get this like flashing sign saying, "Do you want a larger penis?" It's like, no, I don't. Yeah, so I don't think it really matters as to what kind of porn anyone is watching. I just think it's time for us to stop judging people who do porn, because we're not going to get rid of porn. Anybody who thinks that, like Mike Pence, has got a screw loose. Omarosa said that Mike Pence thinks he's Jesus. That's scary in and of itself. Mike Pence is the kind of guy that would try to outlaw porn, I'll bet. All the while, probably, you know, has his own personal collection on his personal email system that he won't disclose his emails, so I assume that Mike Pence has something there. Greta, news.
Maybe this is just how my voice is going to be from now on.
I don't think so.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Because I kind of feel like this is how it's just going to be.
No, it'll get better.
I feel like it's just stuck this way now. On the other hand, well, we're not important at all, but we also like to stay in our sweats. You know what I mean? This is the thing.
In fact,
We like to stay in our sweats.
It's true.
She doesn't want to do that.
No,
She's got to
be
do that.
seen. She's got to be hobnobbing.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a discussion among MILFs talking about a young woman named Greta Thunberg. I'm not into the whole MILF scene either, but thanks for sharing. I'll play it tonight, I guess. It's not some porn, so I can play it. Would you consider what they're doing with Greta as child trafficking? I think it's child exploitation. Yeah, she should be in school. She said so herself. I think that's a problem right there. I mean, the fact that they've got her all over the Godzilla Acre parading her around with a script is kind of sad. You're kind of speechless? You got goat pox, wow. So Stormy used to be in love with you and she wanted to make a porn with you and now she doesn't talk to you anymore, Zenetrill? Oh, so Stormy, you let Zenetrill think that she was, you know, wanted to be involved in your industry. And now she feels all put off. I don't know. Greta, all she has to do to really redeem herself, in my eyes, is expose the chemtrails that are being dumped on our heads every day. And that's the one issue I want to leave you with, the notion that we're being hosed on a daily basis by jets just like this. They're creating the climate change using a process called weather modification. And they're doing it rapidly. What would normally take 50 years for our climate to start changing is happening in a 5-year period. Excuse me. What is my favorite TV show of all times? The $6 Million Man. Yeah, I was glued to that show back in the day. It was, you know, cutting edge technology back before computers. You know, I was very, very edgy and science oriented when I was young. And I grew up in a time when all we had was a rotary dial telephone. So it's not like this stuff comes naturally. I have to work at embracing technology, whereas many of you grew up with it. I didn't. So when I saw the $6 Million Man, it was inspiring that someday maybe we will have people with artificial limbs and bionics and all that. Those will be the days someday. But right now we're still, you know, seeing things that are just wow us every single year. We've got animations of that. So yeah, if I could just be this, that'd be great. So maybe I might just be the $6 million man someday, but it'll be $6 billion. It'll be added to the list. Too much money. In order to have a full bionic replacement of my entire body would require at least $6 billion. You're going to be the Bionic Man, really? Payday is, if I were to eat a candy bar, it'd be Payday. I prefer the peanuts and the Payday. Did this week's episode of Mr. Robot in complete silence, no words were spoken? Are you serious? Really? You know, I'm getting it back into Mr. Robot. I'm about a year and a half back in it. So I'm going into the last of season 3 and on into season 4 by myself because Sarah doesn't like the show anymore. I like Payday the best, yeah. Well, he had a synthetic arm and a synthetic and 2 legs that were completely manufactured by bionics, according to the writers of the story. It was just a fictional story, though. Okay, a demonic possession, a drag queen growls incoherently on all fours in front of children. And this is okay in the libraries nowadays. Yeah. Isn't that special? And kids get to see these drag queens up close and personal in the children's section at the library, courtesy of our democratically our society of libtards, who want everyone to become drag queens like this. Wow. Yeah. We'll look at that tonight. Thanks for the link. Okay, that wraps it up. We've got everything and your picnic basket full of news tonight. Don't forget the eyeball. Yes. This has been a real wide open and eye opener for everybody. I mean, many of you are starting to realize, wow, you mean the world isn't exactly what they say it is on mainstream television? Yeah, it's completely different. When we look deeper, we realize we've been lied to. Most of us have been lied to all our lives. And it takes years to really decipher what an innocent baby would normally think is magic. This is how innocent our lives were. So how easily manipulated we were. Of course we've been manipulated. Of course we've been lied to. They've got the ability to manipulate our brains, and they've had this ability. Why wouldn't they use it? I call it Murphy's Law in reverse, really. I mean, anything that can happen will happen, or anything that can go wrong will go wrong. If the elitists have the ability to do anything, they will use that ability. And they have every reason to control your mind. They don't want you asking questions. That's the last thing they want to do, is for you to ask questions. They don't want you thinking. They want you stupid, dumbed down, pretty much retardified. And if you like to drink, they want to kill your brain cells too. They'll encourage that in your television shows. Almost every TV show in the market now has drinking. Almost every 15 seconds, somebody's drinking. It seems that way. I can't believe it, how many times they push alcohol in front of your TV whenever you're watching a show. It's beyond belief. It's like they want us all to become drunks. Anyway, we'll talk about more of this tomorrow on Truth Tuesday. For now, this is Mr. Right signing off. Take care, everybody. I'll be in the show till 1 in the morning chatting with you, but I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Take care.
My feet, my heart stops to beat, cause you make me melt away. My Mr. Right, too good. Just turn my world around, cause you're the peace I find. You sweep me off my feet, my heart stops to beat, cause you make me melt away. feet, my heart stops to beat. Cause you make me melt away. You're my Mr. Right, my Mr. Right, too good.